Hey everybody, Eric Meyer, NASA Great Lakes Chief Instructor. I'm going to do a little brief video on lateral G's, little total acceleration channel or GSum, and a little bit about the ApexPro score using Track Attack. Thank you, Walt, for the Facebook question saying, hey, I'd like to learn a little bit more about lateral G's. Let's get started. This data right here comes from Michael Trask, HPD3 driver, soon to be HPD4, NCM in with NASA Great Lakes in October. He ran a 235 on a nice warm day in an NB Miata, I believe he drives, with some fancy suspension and grippy tires and a stock motor. Mike's got some strong autocross background, some road course driving. He's a pilot. He's detail oriented, and he's a fantastic driver. So let's take a look at some channels. We're going to use the big three: GPS speed. We're going to use device generated lateral and device generated longitudinal. I say that because we're not going to use GPS long or GPS lat. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So here we go. We're in distance mode, right? And if we're not, that toggles back and forth. Time, distance, right? We're in mile per hour. We're in G's on this axis over here, right? On the Y-axis. Remember, X, Y is in the sky, up and down. X is right to left. You'll note right here that there is this zero G mark right here is up higher, right? That's because there's more negative braking G's, right? And fewer positive G's, positive acceleration G's. After all, this is a Miata, right? It brakes down here harder than it accelerates. However, for the lateral G's, you'll notice they're about equal, give or take, because a car corners typically about the same, both right and left. So here's what we're looking at. We're going to go here to this eye and zoom out. Remember, we're at the start right here and the finish right here. It's 16,200 and some odd foot track. And here we go. So we're looking at lateral acceleration. I see this big spike right here, this big value of 1.5 lateral G's. Here's what I see. I see that at about 64 miles an hour. Look over here on the track map. Look over here on the track map. On this corner right here. This is now look back over here to the Mickey Mouse hand. This is a big spike. It's a big point. It's really pointy right here. And what that means is it happens in a brief amount of distance and a brief amount of time because we're hoofing it at 60 miles an hour. This is a quick load, a quick spike. Does that make sense? If you compare and contrast that over here, let's drive down the track a little more to the slower corner. This is a 40 mile an hour corner. This is turn 10 right here, right? Keep your eye over on the track map, right? This is a slower corner and a longer corner. It's also a very tight corner. Now take a look at the Mickey Mouse hand. Look how much longer we're in a loaded state in the car, where the right side's loaded up, right? Much longer than this little peak right here, right? So this is a higher in magnitude, but shorter in duration. This is a little bit lower in magnitude, but much longer in duration. You see that? Okay, we're going to zoom out again. Oh, by the way, you can see right here, I saw this earlier. Remember what our friend is right there? Remember what that is? Yeah, it's a shift, right? You see that in the form of loss of forward momentum, and it gains again. It's a shift right there, right? We could say that's a shift point, even though we don't have a RPM channel. Okay, I want to show you a couple other things. I want to show you that that for the left-hand turns, that we're getting a solid G, 1.1 G right here, 1.2, 1.2, 1.26. Mike's really getting through here nicely. generating a lot of G's. We see the 1.5 up here, right? On this particular lap, we're not going to do any comparison of all these other laps that look like this, right? And say, oh, okay, let's find out what's going on. We might see some different values, right? I might see some different values and possibly even some higher values, but that's not what this is about. This is just about kind of looking at the lateral acceleration channel and a couple more. So we got back and forth. In this case, the right-handers are positive G's and the left-handers are negatives. Gang, if yours are swapped, if your ones are positive or left-hand turns, that's okay. That's a goofy naming convention thing, and the math still works out. But what you do want is your negative G's to be the braking events and to be the larger ones and the smaller acceleration ones up here. Okay, so we're going to add some neat stuff. Track Attack has a neat math channel calculated, and if you have a device-generated lateral G and a longitudinal generated G from your device, not from GPS, from your device, this channel right here called total acceleration will show up. And total acceleration is also called GSum in AIM speak and in kind of advanced speak. And here's what it is. So here's that total acceleration channel. Don't get scared. We're going to show you some math. GSum is lateral acceleration value, whatever it is, half a G, 7/10 of a G, 0.99 of a G, times itself, plus longitudinal, whatever it is, 0.2 times itself. So it could be 0.99 times 0.99 plus 0.2 times 0.2. Add those together, take the square root of that, and here's what you have. This value right here. So this value down here is, what's this? And what's this? And let's calculate it and put the result right here. And we're going to pick a spot to do that. So the total acceleration, or how much of the tire we're using, both in turning and accelerating, is see above my little Mickey Mouse hand, 0.75. Okay? So we're using a combination of up here, accelerating, and some lateral side-to-side grip, and here's the total right here. Here's where you see that, right in here. So when you have a combination of some lateral and either some braking or some accelerating, here's how you come up with those points. So if we pick a point that's braking at about 0.9 and turning at about 0.5, right? 0.9 and 0.5. Somewhere on here, it's represented in that. We'd have to figure out by looking through here, but that's essentially what total acceleration is. It's where are we at on the friction circle, right? It's a combination of side to side and up and down. Does that make sense? Total acceleration, also called GSum. And if you want to learn more about GSum, it's a great video by Roger Cadell. It's right here. It uses the same channels we did. GPS speed, lateral, longitudinal, and it makes GSum, again, which is the same thing as what Track Attack calls total acceleration. Same exact thing, you just name it different, and it's a combination of both of them. And that video back here is right here. It's on the AIM Sports YouTube page, and there it is right there. 23 minutes, Roger Cadell, super great video, check it out. Okay, so we're learning a little bit about lateral. We're learning a little bit about total. Remember, it's a combination of both with some fancy math. It's basically how much of the tire are we using. Remember, we can only use so much of the tire, right? We can't use 100% braking and 100% turning. At one point, it's going to give out. This is basically showing how much are we using. A combined G, right? Total G or GSum. how much of that are we using, right? And the higher the value, the more tire that we're using. We want to have high values in here as much as we can in braking and turning, right? And turning and accelerating. So that's what total acceleration, total G's or GSum is. I'm going to add one more channel. This is ApexPro. And the reason why I know it has this channel called ApexScore. And if you don't have an Apex device or you don't want to know anything about it, stop watching this YouTube video now. And if you do, this is what that data looks like in Track Attack. These would be the lights. And when you got 100% score, that's all green lights. So right here, 100%, this is saying right here that Mike is using all of the available modeled grip, and all of his lights are green. Looks like right over here too, 100% going right here around this corner, 100%. Now I'm going to show him some areas of opportunity to get better. So we're going to go up here and watch the track map for a second. And what we're going to see is that this lateral acceleration, big lateral load at 60 miles an hour at the apex of that corner, 61 miles an hour. Look at my Mickey Mouse hand. He's on the throttle because he's accelerating at 0.2 G's. He's got longitudinal G's, forward G's, positive G's. He's got a lateral load of 1 G for right-hand corner, right? And the total math of that says we're using about 1.1 of that. Here's what's really unique. And you don't see this unless you have an ApexPro device. And that is down here, this information is modeled, and it says we're only using 55% of the available grip. Now this is very common in this corner because this is a cambered corner. And by the way, we don't know if there's traffic in front of Mike in this particular location, but what we do know is that, and if you're an ApexPro user, you'll get it, that we're only using 55% of the available grips, which means we have a lot of red lights. So I would tell Mike that assuming that there was no traffic for this, he can go through here a lot faster. And it's mainly because it's a cambered corner, and you can go fast through here. Matter of fact, I have found that this is the highest lateral G corner on the track. And in this case, Mike is getting 1.06. He had more lateral G's over here. He's leaving some on the table, which is good because he's got something to work on the next time he goes to that track. He gets to carry all that speed and carry it all the way down into that braking zone. So there you go. You have the description of the GSum. You have a video to drill down and learn a little bit more, courtesy of Roger Cadell. You have some information on ApexScore, and you've learned a little bit about lateral acceleration and how there's peaks that are higher and how there are less magnitude but longer duration corners as well, where the car would be in a state of roll, in this case on the right side of the tires for a longer period of time at for a slower speed. So that's it. I'm Eric Meyer. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned to this page right here for more yummy stuff, and I'll talk to you soon. Later.